everyone. I am really just delighted about this conversation that we're going to have today with Michael McElroy. And Michael, there's an intro already, so we didn't even need to do that part. So let's jump into the conversation. Just thank you so much for being here on the
Oh, it's
podcast.
my pleasure. Thanks, Brian, for having me.
And, I fell in love with you. I would say I'm not going to age either of us, but let's say I
Please
was
don't.
younger when I came to see the Broadway Inspirational Voices in New York City.
Ooh, wow.
And fell in love and was like, this is why we do theater, and this is
Mm,
why we exist, and this is why we work on our talents. And I would just love to hand you the microphone. Just give a little, share your story with
mm,
the listeners here so they have a chance to get to know you a little bit as we go through this conversation today.
wow. Well, thank you. Michael McElroy, my pronouns, he, him, his. I just get in the habit of saying that. And I grew up in Ohio with a really interesting mixture of experiences. I was the grandson of a minister who started our church. So that was in downtown Cleveland in a very marginalized community. But I grew up in the suburbs, so I had access to arts. And I grew up at a time, I don't want to date myself either, where arts education was an integral part of, you know, education. There were, dance classes and music classes and band and theater that were an important part of our class day. And so I grew up with these two different experiences of the suburbs and then the music. All of my family are musicians. My grandmother plays the piano. My mom, at 82, still plays every Sunday. My brother, my sister, my uncle, all my nieces and nephews play now. So I grew up with that music, also with great arts training in high school and junior high school. So the love of theater, the love of the arts was kind of, just a part of my existence. And we used to go downtown to see shows uh, in elementary school. I think the first show I saw was Porgy and Bess, the national tour in fourth grade. And I looked on that stage and saw people who looked like me, and I went, that's something I want to do. That's something I can do. So I always loved it. And when it came time to go to college, I got into Carnegie Mellon and went there and got my degree, and then moved to New York. And I moved to New York right at the height of the AIDS epidemic in 1990. And it was right as Broadway Cares and Equity Fights AIDS were created and then eventually came together. And, as people in the theater community, we know how to come together for a cause when it really, to help each other. And so many people were doing cabarets at that time to raise money for Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS. And I did 2 years of cabarets. And then I said, I want to do something with gospel music because I knew that getting through this time of seeing friends and then the next day they're gone. Um, that though we were fundraising and figuring out how to take care of their day to day needs, what were we taking care of in terms of ourselves, in terms of our spirit, in terms of our hearts? And so I wanted to do something with gospel music that brought together a diverse group of singers to just create a space where we could share the music, not any kind of religious dogma, but just the power of the music, which is so healing and transformative. And that was in 1994. And 27 years later, still going strong now, a 501c3 with outreach programs, longstanding programs around the McDonald House, at Covenant House. And I stepped down actually in June of, 2021, um,
Wow.
as I stepped into a new position of leadership at the Department of Musical Theater at University of Michigan as chair of the
Yeah.
department.
Right. And accepted a Tony Award of Excellence for the Broadway Inspirational Voices
Well,
too.
there
Let's
was
just not,
that.
yeah, let's just not hide any of that good stuff, right?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
2019, I think we were awarded the Tony for
Yeah.
excellence in theater, which was pretty amazing.
I want to, as a gay man, I wanted to just
Hmm.
respectfully thank you for acknowledging that part of the history that you shared, because I
Mm,
think that it is a part of the history that is, we need to speak out about it often as a way that we
mm,
remember. And it's not of just remembrance, but also of the lack of support or the mystery behind what was happening at that time. And I will say that this is jumping now to the first time I
Hmm.
walked into a Broadway Inspirational Voices concert. I think it was on the Upper West Side,
Hmm.
and I was like, "What? This feels like a secret that no one should. That we're the only ones who know about. Like we are in something that is incredible. That people does everyone know this is happening? Why is everyone everyone should be here right now? And to that was probably in 1998, I would imagine. And so
Mm.
to then also hear that the Tony just happened so recently, just at a bigger stage and that it's had more and more of an impact is just, I think, really powerful to think in. So I just want to thank you on behalf of myself and also for what I
Oh,
know that you're doing in that work there. Just it really does have all the power you just described of all the healing and what you said about um, not making the religious dogma was not what you were trying to
right.
communicate in that time. I'm a non-denominational reverend, so that very much aligns with kind of the
Mm.
conversations that I'm having. And I think
Yeah,
that, at its highest level, theater is meant to be a spiritual experience. And so
I
I
agree.
just appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
And
and also, go ahead.
no, you're here to be on my show. I'm making you talk.
No, well, I was just going to say that it was important to me that the choir reflect back the audience in terms of identity and lived experiences. And so diversity was always a part of it, though the music was birthed in a specific lived experience. I believed and still believe that the power of the music transcends that. And if we come to it respectfully, honoring what it is, that we all can find our way in. And I
Mm,
think that even today, BIV stands as and it's an example of what can happen, the power of what can happen in many different lived experiences, religious experiences, identities, sexualities, come together through the power of music. It means something, especially today as we see so many messagings that come that are about being divisive, that are trying to divide us, that are trying to make us fearful of what is different from us.
yeah.
To have BIV stand as this example of no, this is what is possible when many people of many different backgrounds, lived experiences come together. Um, this is what is possible. And that also is one of the reasons that Black Theater United has been doing the work that it's doing. A nice segue. Did you get that segue?
Yeah, I got it. But well
Because
done. Thank you for saving me the segue. Good job.
thank you. But it's the same thing. It's like we look at diversity and the way it's messaged sometimes is as if someone is getting something, it means that it's taking something away from someone else. And what we stand for, what I believe in as an artist, what I did with BIV, and what I do as a founding member, and we do as members of Black Theater United, is say, no, let's make the table bigger because the more experiences, the more diversity, the more lived experiences that we have at the table, oh my gosh, what possibilities does that hold for the future of our industry, for the future of art making, right?
Hmm.
There are things that we haven't even thought of, right? That or could experience, and how in the ways that we can innovate our art form. If more people are at the table, and it's not just the same people making the
Hmm.
same decisions for our
Hmm.
industry.
Yeah, so much so. And also, and I think also, what do we want what do we want the art to be?
Hmm.
That question that begs this question of, do we want it to be not who we are? And for so long
Right,
it has not been who the world is. It's not been represented. And can
right.
you tell us a little bit more about Black Theater United, right? I mean, I've read all the press. How did it come
Hmm.
to be? You've got some really fancy, fabulous people who are super supportive of this. So the
Yes,
message is getting out. But I wanted
that's
to hear
good.
from you a little bit more about how it started and where you are right now.
I think that Black Theater United stands as one of many examples during the pandemic, during the shutdown, of taking what is could be centered in a place of pain
Hmm.
and transforming it to power. Um, I remember this so clearly. I was talking about this. Audra came and was a guest at University of Michigan, and I remember uh, we had been in shutdown for about 3 months. And the only place I had gone was either to the grocery store or to stand in line to hopefully get, some paper towels at Rite Aid. That was it.
Yeah.
Um, and I just, as an aside, if someone had said a year before that that would be our existence for a year, nobody would have believed it. But that's
No
another
way,
thing.
Jose. Yeah, yeah.
You would never believe it.
No.
Um, and so the first time I went out, it was July, and it was a friend's birthday, and we had decided that we were going to get some to-go food and just sit in the park over by the river. And I was sitting there on the grass. We're all in masks and sitting there, and my phone rings, and it's Audra, and she's like, this is what's happening in our world. This is what's happening in our industry. And I want to bring together, LaShance and I were talking, and we want to just bring some like minded folks together just to talk about what we
Hmm.
can do, not only for our industry, but for our people, and use our political, our personal, our professional currency to try to
Hmm.
make a difference, both within our
Hmm.
industry and in the world. And that started with every Sunday Zoom meetings, 2 and 3 hour meetings. And we started to form what it is that we wanted to do, and to really center it, starting with our industry, because at that time our industry was in a place of turmoil.
Yeah.
And there was a kind of reckoning that what we were seeing happening across our country was actually being mirrored within our industry.
Hmm.
And when we don't know what to do, sometimes we can be paralyzed. And BTU, like many of the other organizations formed and had been formed during that time, was about partnering with, advocating for, looking for solutions and ways to move the conversation forward,
Hmm.
so that this time where we could not work was not dead time, but time to plant new seeds, time to till the ground, time to be in community in ways that sometimes our business does not allow us to do. Uh, and, uh, and we just started to become very clear about what it is we wanted to do with our political, personal, and professional currency.
Yeah.
And we've been meeting ever since and working ever since.
Yeah, and I can just say when you say this these of to go from pain or to choose from power, that's very clear in what when you look at your materials and what you share, and this fellowship program that you've just created that is about
Mm-hmm.
training other, and it sounds like it's about, can you speak a little bit about that? Because that was, to me, that was, I was very galvanized when I saw that on the site. I was like, oh, everyone needs to apply, please run, do not walk. Yeah, I mean, I know that at the point that when you're all listening to this is, it's passed for this year, but I think it's important that they know the kind of actions that BTU has taken in creating.
That's great. I'm actually on the mentorship committee. We're called
Okay.
BTU Rise because it's really about uplifting. And one of the things in our New Deal was that uh, we wanted to make sure that there's access and pipelines. It's sometimes, for example, with internships and mentorships, they're unpaid. So if you need to have a certain level of privilege and access in order to be able to do a free mentorship. So we,
Mhm.
in our New Deal, which is something we came into agreement with across all parts of our industry, from theater owners to producers to creatives, um, to say no more unpaid internships. Because
Praise
just
be,
in
praise be.
right,
Yes.
right, and so this one that we created is also about looking at the spaces within our industry where there is no diversity, where there has not been access, where there haven't
Hmm.
been pipelines.
Hmm.
And so one that we looked at and or that wanted to partner with us, some individuals in our advertising, Broadway advertising and marketing companies. And so we are in the process now of looking for applications. We just opened up our applications for the Broadway Marketing Internship Program, which is partnering with 4 of the 5 major uh, advertising and marketing firms for Broadway for a summer internship. It's paid.
So
We
Sereno
have a
Coin's on the
home.
list, right?
Say
Sereno
again?
Coin is Sereno
S-
Coin on the list. My
Serena
first job out of
Coin,
college. My first job out of college was at Sereno Coin.
right? Serena
That's
Coin,
awesome. Yes.
aka
Right.
RPM and Situation.
Awesome.
And so we're partnering with CUNY right now to accept applications for any students who want to apply. And then we're going to choose, I think it's 10 students, and they will be with them all summer. And it's about investing long term, right?
Sure.
So they
Yeah.
can see um, what that process is from the inside, and hopefully spark a desire to want to become a part of that industry so that it diversifies those people who are actually the movers and shakers in that part of our industry.
Totally. And I can just remember when I was there, it was primarily white spaces
Yeah.
when I was there. That was, and so that I understand. We've had a couple conversations on this podcast around the pipeline. We had
Hmm.
this woman who is a lawyer who is helping a pipeline for having Black publicists and Black managers and Black lawyers and be part of it. And so what you say is so, I think, integral into what you've described is we can't just be like, let's fix everything right this second. Is like, where are we? What is the next piece? What is the next? How do we continue to fulfill this vision we want to see? So if
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's people listening right now, like, so right now, the moment that happened in 2020, and some
Hmm.
people woke up who weren't woke up already, or
Hmm.
started listening maybe who weren't listening already. Um, in this beautiful beginning that you described, which sounds like it started from a place of power. It sounds like that phone call was a place of
Hmm.
we want to do something. We want to move forward from this, even if it was birth of pain, and that we want to move forward with this. Was there any part of you or in these conversations where, are we allowed to do this? Are we going to get in trouble? Is someone going to get weird? Like, I wonder what that was like in terms of, you are a professional actor, you have a reputation, people understand you, like, you have no business like people like calling people out, that kind. And I just wonder what that was like for you as a performer,
Mm.
if you're willing to
Well,
share.
that's a great question. Uh, I didn't have any fear because for us, the way that BTU has tried to move through the space is not so much in calling people out, but rather calling them in to conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for us, it was never about shaming or belittling. It was about, here's a moment where there is no work to be had. Here's a moment of absolute stasis, not just within our industry, but in the world. And I have
Mm.
to say, I don't know if these opportunities would have happened if it hadn't been all the things that were happening at the same time. The pandemic, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all of these things that were happening where people could not escape, but they had no other recourse but to watch what was
Yeah.
happening. Uh, I think all of that together made it so that we couldn't turn away. There was no
Yeah.
job to go to.
There was no 8 shows
There
a
was
week
no
to go run
money
to,
coming
and
in.
yeah, yes, uh-huh. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think it put people in a space of humility. It put people who were not used to being powerless in a space where they had no power. It
Mm-hmm.
it put a light quite brightly on issues, and it also gave people for the first time um, the opportunity to have a voice and to say and speak their truth without any repercussion, because the world was looking at our industry with, in the harsh
Yeah.
white light of in that moment. So there was no spin that could be put on it,
Yeah.
and people were so paralyzed that there needed to be organizations, and there are many organizations that formed during that time, have all done our work in different ways. There's not one way to the mountaintop, as a friend of mine would say. So it took all of us working in our own individual ways, uh, and then sometimes in concert, to actually begin to move things forward. I'm one, and I think BTU, we are. We say all the time, proceed at the speed of wisdom. So
Hmm.
I, as a person, as an artist, am a process-driven person. So I don't care about the immediate result. I want to know that by the time I get to whatever that result is, that the roots are deep and strong. So we have always proceeded with calling people into conversation while still making them accountable, but partnering with them on the journey, um, and doing it in a way that is strong, but caring and empathetic.
Yeah.
And I just think that sometimes people don't have those tools. And so we can either be angry at them, but if you've never had this happen to you, you've never had this experience, I'm going to show you where the information is and partner with you to get there, but I'm also going to hold you accountable for it.
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
we're really about making long-term changes that will affect our industry 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years from now.
Oh wow. It's really reassuring to hear you say this. We had a meeting yesterday as a team, my team, with our DEI inclusion expert who comes in. We're working with them and really trying to get clear on. We're primarily a white team, and so we're trying to work on that ourselves and do better, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so she said to us, and this really landed with me. She says, "It is slow work in an urgent situation." And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I not, and it pisses me off so much, but I understand. Like, I want to can we do, and that's not actually, so what you just said just reassures again, the wisdom that I want to tap into that you've just described, or the wisdom that I'm trying
Right.
to gain in this moment. So I appreciate you
Right.
sharing that. Yeah.
And it's scary. It's scary to be vulnerable in these ways. A friend of mine always talks about we are conditioned in this country not to talk about race. It's always
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And so in this moment, Black Theater United is saying, this is what would happen if diversity was our superpower.
Mm.
Instead of that thing that we have to do, or we're being pressured to do, or, okay, I'll do what everybody says right now, and then I'll go back to what it was before when things, but really deeply embedded in every aspect of our industry, right? What would that do? How would it change? How would it transform for the better? And so that's what excites me about the work that we do,
Yeah.
um, and trying to do it with care, with empathy, but
Mhm.
holding people's feet to the
Yeah.
fire.
As you said that it's a process and it is a journey, is there one thing that you can think of so far that's like one of the things you're most proud of that's happened already that you could say? Look at that
Well, there are a couple.
smile.
Well, there are a couple things. You know, the new deal that we put out
Right.
in concert with all the different industry leaders, something I'm very proud of because that was a lot of work over a 6-month period of time, meeting regularly
Hmm.
to come to an agreement with different facets of our industry that have never come together
Mm,
ever before,
mm,
right? To have all representatives of the unions in a room together, to have creatives and theater owners and producers in a room together, that had never happened before.
yeah.
And so to have that happen was a great accomplishment. I think also having the theater just named after James Earl Jones was in the New Deal. That's one of the things that we talked about. Having no more unpaid internships, and
Hmm.
that is something that is we're seeing happening, that we're a part of, and we're seeing happening across our industry. Uh, that diversity work is being taken seriously with chief diversity officers in different shows and in different with the Broadway League. You know, those kinds of changes. Um, and even, that there were so many shows uh, celebrating the Black experience with Black directors and Black writers on Broadway in the fall. I love that. But I'm much more interested and excited about who's making those decisions behind those doors. Those are the
Mm.
spaces that I want to see more change,
That's
right?
the
And
pipeline that you're talking about. That's the place where you're saying that's where we need to see the
right,
colors change, for lack of a better
yeah,
phrase. Yeah. Yeah.
right, yeah, and see more diversity because that's going to start to shift our industry in ways that we can't even imagine that are
Right.
exciting. You know,
Yeah. And I love the way you say this, Michael, is there's this, because the way that you said, like, inserted diversity versus what the ways we can't imagine if this is our superpower is it's a totally different way to think about this.
hmm
And I love the way you've described that. Is there, so in all this, I'm noticing a trend of, in kind of what you've explained, is you seem to have a very clear focus on youth, or the people coming up, on the, like you said, interns, and you've worked at NYU and now you're at Michigan. Where does that come from for you, do you think?
well, it was the way I was raised. I would not be where I am right now without the teachers, family members, mentors that, you know, saw something in me and made the choice to foster it, to challenge me, to care for me, to mentor me, right? Because it is a choice. And all of those mentors who invested time and energy in me, they're the reason that I'm able to uh, have the life and the career and the experiences that I have today. Now, at some point, I had to take that over, but for me, as being a growing up in the church, the thing that we used to always say is give of your time, tithes, and talent, and it was that idea of service. And I look at
Mm-hmm.
what we do as artists as being in service. It's either as an individual artist, I'm in service to the character,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm in service in some way, whether it's telling stories. And so for me, service, mentorship, giving back, all of that, uh, it's just the way I was raised. It was a part
Mm-hmm.
of something that was embedded deep inside of me, and we're only as good as the folks that are coming up behind us, right? And how are
Mm-hmm.
we, like we stood on shoulders, how are we now allowing them to stand on our shoulders? And
Mm.
so that goes back to the mentors and teachers that I had, and it goes all the way back to all of the generations that came before me that made sacrifices, that dealt with things that I could not even possibly dream of, knowing that there was a future where they were hoping that that wouldn't be the case. That stuff lives in my DNA,
Right.
and I think it's important that we pay it
Yeah. Yeah. How are you, Michael? How you doing?
forward. I'm okay. There's a lot going on, and it's I that's such an interesting question because sometimes I am so busy doing uh, that I have to remind myself to take a breath, to
Yeah.
enjoy and be present. Um, for the moment. It's just been a busy time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going on 4 weeks without a day off, but that's okay. I got a Sunday coming up
Okay.
where
Praise be
I'm
for that
going
Sunday.
to, yes,
Oh,
but you know, I, I don't want to say it that way, but I can rest. I'll get an opportunity to rest on the other side, beyond the river, right? I, I want to make sure I'm saying naming self care is important,
yeah.
and that sometimes I can go a little too far in my crazy work. I just love to work and to
Mm-hmm.
do. But I'm learning as I get older that my body goes no 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 no. So I am slowing down a little bit, but just that idea of work and giving back and creating and innovating and being in service, because I believe art makes the world better, and making sure that we have artists who carry that torch forward is important to me, especially in this time that we're in, where we're seeing so much divisiveness and so much it feels like the powers of darkness are winning a lot
Mm.
of the time.
Mm-hmm.
um, that I feel it is our responsibility as artists to keep pouring light into the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does take its toll. Um,
Sure.
but I want to keep doing it. I have to keep doing it, and being a part of that change and making mistakes and getting up and asking for forgiveness and trying to do better and all of those things. It's like, I don't want to, paint myself as as some angel, because I'm not. I make mistakes. I make huge mistakes and have to find and ask for forgiveness and then attempt to make it better and do better. Um, but I learn and I grow and believe in, what what the calling on my life is,
Mm-hmm.
and why I was put on this earth. It has changed and has shifted from performer to arranger to composer to artistic director to factor, teacher to chair, all those things, but they're all the same,
Yeah.
right? It's all about service. It's all about service through art,
Mm-hmm.
artistic expression, artistic training, creating art, innovating art. So
Yeah.
I just
Michael,
try to
I'm
be open
noticing
and
in you.
prepared.
Yeah, I will just say that it's such a delight to be in your space, and there is a
Ooh,
dogged certainty around what I am doing is of service. So what I'm doing, so that the flavor might change, like you said, I'm
yeah.
being an arranger, I'm a singer, but that you
Mm.
the adherence to I believe that this is going to make change, that this is making a difference. It seems like, and you can correct me here, it gives you a sense of my days are full. I'm doing the right thing with my time, I mean, obviously your days probably
Yes.
are full, but I mean, like that your days are
Yes.
full, and I mean fulfilled, or maybe a better way to
Yes.
say that. Do you feel fulfilled in this work
Yes.
and in the work that you do? Yeah.
Yes. I want to be more intentional about, I was just talking to my best friend today about what I say yes to,
Mm.
because so much of our, and I wonder if you agree with this, our industry, our art form, it breeds a certain kind of lack, right? Like there's only so many jobs. It's only right. So when things come along, I still need to learn that no is a position of power, right?
Yes.
And that I don't have to say yes to everything because someone asked me, right?
Oh,
And
hell yes.
so I still have a problem saying no when it's an amazing opportunity. But then when you look at it, what can happen is if you have too many amazing opportunities at the same time, then they become things you have to do instead of
Hmm.
things that you want to do. And then you lose the joy of the doing. And so at my seasoned age, I am trying to learn balance, self care, and the beauty and the power of the word no.
Oh God, yes. Well, I will just. I don't know who said this, but someone said the most attractive word in the English language is no. I was
Mhm,
like, oh yeah, because you attract the other things, and when you say no, you're saying yes to something else, and it just is such a it.
mhm.
I so agree with what you just said. And also, can I just say in this moment just how delighted I am that you said yes to being with us today, because
Oh,
we feel very lucky to have you here. So thank you.
oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
In the
thank you
work
for
that
having
you've
me.
done, and I want to, and in the
Mhm,
work that you've done, we'll probably get close to the end here though. In the work that you've
mhm.
done, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned? What's it taught you?
Hmm. um, I'll tell you, there's two things, but the most important thing is every lesson doesn't feel good. You
Underline
know what I
that and take
mean?
write that down, people. Yeah.
Put it in caps, bold it, 20, 25-inch font. I don't
Yes.
care. You know, when you, and then once again, I'm not setting myself up to be a person who has it all figured out. I don't. I struggle. I am challenged. I have a temper. I can be angry. I can be self centered. I have an ego. All of those things. We all do. But there is something about the choice to want to be the best person that you can be and to surrender to. I'm from a background of faith, and to surrender to the things that you were put on this earth to do that nobody else can do. And that's not ego. That I
Mm,
truly believe that every person on this earth was put here for a specific purpose that is uniquely their own.
mhm.
With that acceptance, also puts you on a path that of always learning and growing. And sometimes those experiences are fantastic, and sometimes they hurt. Growth does not always feel good. And so the thing that I've learned in these last few years and that sticks with me is that even though something may hurt in the moment, and my friend, I don't know if you know, Angela Robinson calls them valleys of preparation. You
Mm.
know, and you need those valleys. You need those moments where you don't know and you're questioning and you're doubting and you're, you know, confused and you're frustrated and you feel like there's no way out and that it's and that the thing isn't going to happen for you. So that when you have those mountaintop moments, you appreciate them in a different way, but they don't define you,
Mm,
right?
mhm. Yes.
And life is made up of those valleys and those mountains. And so for me to know that when I'm in those valleys, it don't always feel good.
Mm.
But I can look back and go, oh, this I'm able to do and understand and engage because of that
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
That's one. The other one is how to extend empathy when empathy is not given to you, how to extend grace when grace is not extended to you. I don't like that one. I really don't like that one. That one is a real like attack on my, you know, who I am as a person because I
Uh-huh.
believe that everything should be just and right and fair, right?
Uh-huh.
Ever
Yes.
since I was little, as a little kid, it was like, but that's not fair.
Uh-huh.
Um, so to be able to extend grace when grace was not extended, that was a that was a bitter pill to swallow, and it's something that I continue to navigate, and try to center every community that I walk into in that
Mm,
way, um, so that we have space for mistakes and for forgiveness and healing. If we stay in the anger, we never get to the healing, and then we never
right.
get to the resilience, right? So, centering the work that I do as a teacher, as a chair, and a person in a space of leadership, in creating a community of trust through creating grace and empathy, compassion, um, letting those things be the center of what we do, while we're
Hmm.
also looking at how we integrate diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, belonging into artistic practice as we build
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
all those things. So those are the two big ones. That,
Yeah.
oof, they've
That
been
second one
rough
I so
ones.
get. You're like, these are the two biggest tough stuff, right? That second one I so get you. We actually have a value on our team. We call it "Don't smack the wound," which I think I stole
Yeah,
from Marianne Williamson at some point. Which is like the simplest way I know how to explain it is if somebody owes you $5, they know that they owe you $5. You need to keep going. You owe me $5. You owe me $5. You owe me $5. It's like if someone said something mean in an email, they know they said something in an email. We don't need to be snarky back. We say, "Oh yeah, we're happy to take care of that," and they will go, "Oh yeah, I wasn't being my best self." Like there's just
yeah,
a grace that extension of grace. Actually, I think it returns everyone back to who they're meant to be, and I just
yeah.
appreciate you saying that the
I
truth of
don't
who
do it
they
all the
are.
time, though.
Oh yeah, sure.
I
Now
don't
you
do it
said you
all
got
the
a temper. I
time.
clocked when you said I have a temper. I was like, okay, don't piss him off today.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't used to, but now I'm making peace with how I can rise up in that way and go,
Yeah.
okay, Michael, like I have a rule, I'm sure you do too. No sending an email for 24 hours,
Sure.
So if
Yes.
someone, like you said, sends something
Yeah.
that's snarky, I'm like,
Mhm.
and then
And
it
then it
goes
sits
into
in
the draft.
drafts.
And then I get up the next day and I go, ooh, Michael, I'm
Mm.
so glad you didn't send this. And then I go back and I reword
And
and
delete a
reshape,
lot.
right? you know but that's the journey, that's the I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out like everybody.
Sure, totally. So I'm sure there are a bunch of listeners who want to know more about you, want to know more about BTU, want to know about Broadway Voices. Where can you give everybody some help in finding those things and those resources?
Sure.
Sure.
blacktheaterunited.com is our website and has everything that we've done, everything we're doing, and everything we're about to do is on there. And also we're on Instagram, same
Wait,
handle.
can I want to
uh,
interrupt you here because I just want to say if you go to their website, they also have your old programming is embedded, not old
yes.
programming, is embedded onto their site. So it really is a beautiful resource of learning that's there and available to everybody. So I just want to advocate for anybody who got lit up by this conversation today to really go take a look at that. Okay, and now we'll pass the mic back to you.
And then same thing with BIV. It's bivoices.org, to see what we've done, what we're doing, what the organization is doing. I've really um, taken a step back, and it was,
Mhm.
once again, timing. I stepped down in June, and I stepped into this position of leadership at University of Michigan, moved to Ann Arbor. Uh,
Wait, pause. Wait,
so
how's it going in Ann Arbor?
good. I grew up in Ohio, so
Sorry.
being back in the suburbs is, quite familiar.
Got it.
It's Ann Arbor's a lovely place.
Yeah.
Um, I- so I've really made a real concerted effort to give space so that
Mhm.
BIV can move forward in its next iteration.
Got it. Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, leadership can not allow that to happen because they're still holding on. I'm not holding on. I'm like, y'all go do what you do, and
Okay.
I will celebrate you from a distance. And so if
Great.
they can figure out who they want to be without me kind of looking over shoulders, so I've really taken a huge step, a complete step out,
Got it.
which I'm happy about. Um, but the website has our history and
Great.
what's coming up.
Great. And then if they want to know more about you, if we go look into your Instagram, where should we go?
I'm not a social media spirit. I have
Okay.
Instagram, which I basically use to talk and send funny videos to my friends. Every once in a while, I'll post about something that happened at Michigan. Like this past week, we did a weekend. We had a community day where I invited 6 BIPOC artists to come and do master classes over the weekend that all the students in our department could go to. They could pick 2: West African dance and salsa and Broadway dance and vocal performance and Shakespeare nominated August Wilson, and a panel. And it was, so I'll post things like that. I'll
Great. Got
post
it.
what's happening mostly at Michigan with my
Great.
students and our alums, and then funny videos,
Got
things that I think are really
great. Great.
hysterical.
Great.
Like
And I
I
mean, in it,
posted, for example,
yes.
Audra's warming up video. Did you see her warming up video?
Wait, the gay one?
Yes.
The gay one is amazing. So we should all, I just share everyone, we are in the, I don't know, the echoes or the haunting of the Don't Say Gay law in Florida
Mm,
right now. And
mm.
Audra's video is so good where she's just saying gay over and over. And
It's just
this
a
isn't
warm
to
up.
laugh. Yeah, it's just a warm up. Yeah. And it's amazing. And it makes a
But
statement.
that's the power of theater. That's the
Yeah.
power of art. And those are the things that I'm always excited about. Are like, how can I use my art
Mm.
to say something in a way that only art can without, she could have said, you know, and I think this is wrong, and no. All she did was warm up using vowels that and consonants that when they come together make a word, and that says exactly the thing that we're not supposed to say anymore if we live in a particular state, you know. um, and it's powerful because it's funny,
Yeah.
but it gets to the core of the message. And that's also what excites me about being a part of Black Theater United, is how do we use our artistry to do the things that we want to do, to put the messages out, to advocate for Black bodies, Black lives, Black artists, Black human beings across our country, um, through our art, and also through our political power.
I mean, there's no other way to end this conversation other than what you just said. I think that's really powerful. I'm so grateful that you were willing to spend some time with us today. I know you have a lot of invitations to say things to say yes and no to. And so I'm just going to advocate for you, saying no when you need to, but I'm really, really delighted and thankful for your time for us today.
Thank
Really
you.
grateful. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate
100%,
it.
for sure.